Okay, so right away I have to say this. The main reasons why I am still moving ahead with sharing this gauntlet is number one, I already teased it and it has been in my schedule already. Number two, I decided to go through with it for the needed content. And the reason for this opening statement is that I am likely going to not push much of the things drawn in this video outside of this media. The issues that I faced with this gauntlet is that when I first created it, like the fan art video, it was supposed to increase in difficulty based on who or what I'm drawing in the latter rounds. But I realized a little late that I had everything listed in my default style mentally, which isn't the point of the whole gauntlet series. It's level of difficulty combined with showcasing different art styles that I am capable of. So after I made that change, let's just say that I lost the vibe in a number of the designs since it felt like I had to be fighting against myself to put in effort and precious time in drawing my characters completely different from how they are in my series. It felt like a wasted promotional window. This led me to not put much details in the lines and shading and structure for almost the entire gauntlet. There's really only one of the 6 rounds that I felt had everything needed. And surprise, surprise, it was the character drawn in my default style, doing something she does in the story and looking how she looks in it. Anyway, opening ramble over. You were warned. Now let's get it. Round 1 is just a random monster done in the stick and stone style. Really not much to explain here other than this being a character that should appear in an upcoming short series I am working on. Working title is The Aprid Box. But of course this design is not canon, something you will hear being said multiple times in this video. Round 2 is a character from my main series out, 11 Keys Stage Controller. Her name is Nonami and she appears in the second story arc of that book called Titan. Here she is drawn in the Chibi style, but she's actually in her 20s and is best friends with the main character of that arc. I stick to the basics here for the Chibi characters, so a large head with a small body basically. Round 3 is actually the one design in this entire video that I'd say is completely canon. Here we have one of my legacy characters and the main character of the first story arc from the Stage Controller book called Dropout. Her name is Kimika. She is a former assassin and vigilante in her teens. This is probably the only round of this gauntlet that I was happy with the outcome, because even though I have drawn her multiple times over the past several years, this is the best art of Kimika thus far. I became aware of something while working on her in regards to shading. Like for this one, I opted with softer edges to the shadows and lights, but the correct choice I think should have been harder, sharper edges. Sharper edges are more suited for the comic book superhero animated style as well as the 2D anime style. Softer edges would be more if I'm aiming for something a bit more realistic or 3D. But other than that, this is very close to how Kimika looks in the book and how she will look when this whole thing gets animated. So obviously this is in my default style. Round 4 is Taylana and Eve done in the goofy style. This is a non-canon style and look. Taylana is the MC from the second story arc, Titan. She's a princess of a world of giants. Ebe, meanwhile, is a beast from a completely different part of the galaxy. He is the MC of the 5th story arc called High Mega. Slight spoiler, but these two did not meet in the Stage Controller novel, so again, this is all non-canon stuff. I went with a simple style here, looking at Western animated cartoons from decades past. I guess the only thing canon here is that Taylana has above average boobs and Eve, even in my default style, will have a goofy look to him. Round 5 is to draw Jene, Nye and Antonia in my default style and make it a scene. These 3 characters are all POVs that never meet each other in the Stage Controller book. Jene is the MC of the 4th story arc titled Captain. Nai is the MC of the 6th and final story arc titled Predator, and Antonia appears as a singular POV chapter towards the end of the Titan arc. The scene is simply a headshot of them reacting towards being served liquor. Jene is the only one of the 3 that is canonically a heavy drinker, so I drew her with that overly happy look at what's before her. Nai is not that knowledgeable about what exactly alcohol would be, so she has that puzzling look, wondering what it is. Antonia is slightly anxious or annoyed at what she was served. Artistically, this also isn't canon, though the characters here are somewhat close to how they will ultimately look. I made the overall style simpler than it would be under normal circumstances and also did not do any shading effects. Round 6 is an elongated spread featuring 4 characters from 4 different stories of mine. There's Ice, who is a wolf-like creature featured in the Predator arc of Stage Controller, female by the way. Emron is a villain from the Acrid Box, my work in progress short story series that I hinted at earlier. Renee is a villain from 2981 Cells, a novella that was published on Amazon alongside Stage Controller. And Claire is from a singular short story that acts as a prequel to Stage Controller titled Andromedan Beast. For the most part, the styles here will be canon with the exception of Emron. I did basic shadows and lights. And there you have it, the end of the original artwork Gauntlet. The next time I do one of these, the quality will be a lot greater regardless of the styles I use, and we are getting really close to seeing these things in animated form and other media. It's 2025 now officially, and from early last year I've had it in my head that realistically this would be the year the major things I came up with would be out in full, or specifically an actual legit launch. But if you have any thoughts, leave them below. Peace.